Ultra time.
Ultra time.
First off, the name. Not what we expected.
Okay, so they said the name Ultra on stage, and I was sort of like taking my notes, and I already started writing Apple Watch Pro. I was just like, I was ready for the Apple Watch Pro info. And then they said Ultra, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of the name we use for a lot of companies' highest end, most extreme things. I mean, Galaxy S22 Ultra, how many other Ultra products do we know about? So this is fine. It's fine. It's Ultra.
It's different. We did mention how LG potentially had a trademark on Watch Pro, but I didn't think that would affect it because Watch Series 8 Pro we thought it would be, but it could have also been Watch Max. So Watch Ultra was just, I heard a couple gasps in the audience like, oh,
I mean, they already have an Ultra, the M1 Ultra.
True.
So it's like, it's above Pro. Ultra is above Pro in that lineup, so maybe this is even better than Pro. Maybe. It is what it is. Anyway, okay, here's what it is. The way they introed it, which I think is probably the most important, is it's a watch for exploration, adventure, and endurance. So when you picture an Apple Watch for exploration and adventure and endurance, you picture a thicker, titanium, durable, flat Apple Watch with a much larger battery and more features. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I keep going back and forth between, man, this watch is really big, and man, this watch is really small for what it is, because there are some Garmin watches, right? I'm thinking about
you're right.
The really big, the Garmin watches, the rubberized, military shock resistant, all these gigantic watches that look hilarious on my wrist. Like, I don't have a very big wrist, and those watches look ridiculous. And so this Apple Watch looks small compared to those.
It still looks huge. You could tell the people in the event that had it on before they even like really announced it, and it was just a chunk on your wrist.
It's huge compared to the watch I'm wearing now. So, okay, all the details, I'll just go down the specs and we have some reactions to these, but it is a flat sapphire crystal display instead of like curving over the edges. That's a plus for durability. It is their biggest, brightest display. It's a 49 millimeter case, and it'll do up to 2,000 nits of brightness, which is pretty sick. That actually matches the phone that we're going to talk about in a second. But you can use literally an all-white screen as a flashlight. It's that bright. That's pretty cool. And then if you were just thinking, all right, I want to make a more ruggedized Apple Watch, what would I do? All of those little things that you'd picture, like bulking up the digital crown, adding a sort of like a crown guard, making the buttons protrude more so you can hit them with gloves on, having a second set of speakers that are larger that can go up to 86 decibels for a siren in an SOS situation. All these things, they did all of it. And so now you end up with a watch that is thicker on your wrist, but also has more room inside for a battery. And so the last spec, which is the battery life, is 36 hours of battery life, 60 hours with the new battery optimization setting coming later this fall.
I'm very interested to see what that is. So 36 hours battery life.
Yeah.
If you think about it, how you say 18 hours is a day and a half, so 36 hours feels like it should be maybe a little longer than that, maybe underestimating.
I'm going to say if this is double 36 hours, then it should last me 3 days.
That would be awesome.
Because it's 1.5 now, so 3 days.
It's still... I would like to see how it compares to the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro, because both of those were watches that I felt had very mediocre battery life beforehand compared to like a Garmin, which can have like 8 days of battery life that I've experienced, and it's phenomenal. So both of those, we haven't fully tested the Watch 5 Pro yet, and now we're going to be testing the Ultra, and hopefully both of those are going over 2 days. I'm hoping that over 2 days, including sleep tracking and stuff.
An entire weekend it must last a weekend.
I think it has to last a weekend. But then the 60 hours with the battery optimization, they didn't say much about it. It's coming later this fall. They said, I'm interested to see what it is, if it's similar to this low power mode. The whole thing about it is a lot of these new features gives you all these crazy, like the compass on it is wild. It has waypoints you can add with the new track, with the button on the side.
I'm going to get into, they did a bunch of stuff with the hardware, but they also did a bunch of stuff on top, which is number one, the faces that you mentioned. It has specific new Wavepoint watch faces with compass built in and all this cool stuff. Very cool. It also has specific new watch bands that are launching with it. There are 3 new bands.
They're so good.
I swear this is what's going to sell you on the watch, is just the bands that are sick. You don't even have to, by the way, the bands, you can buy them separately. They fit on other Apple Watches.
We tested because it's 49 millimeters, it's much bigger than say like the 44 millimeter SE, which I took the band off of all of the ultras that we saw in the shooting area and put it on the 44. It fits. There's a very, very little, I mean, like if you put a macro lens up to it, you could see there's a little bit of overlap. You will never notice it on your wrist. You can 100% use these bands on any watch that you have. And let's see, it's the Alpine, it's the Trail, and then the other like underwater one.
Ocean Band.
Ocean Band. Okay.
Yeah.
The Trail is the greatest smartwatch band I've seen on any smartwatch ever. It is
We've seen a lot of bands.
It's everything that I love. I've talked multiple times about liking the solo loop because when I'm typing, I hate anything that's like a hard piece of plastic or metal, which most watches have, that my wrist is sitting on. And when I'm climbing, that happens a lot also. This is elastic, Velcro, has a really nice soft like nylon pull tab. It is perfect.
It's thin.
I love it. It's thin.
Durable.
It's ultra comfortable. I was just wearing it in the shooting scenario for like a while for absolutely no reason.
Just keeping it on.
It was great. The Alpine one is also really cool. That does have like a metal hook, but it has a bunch of really cool loops around the whole watch band, and then you can just hook it in and adjust it whenever you want.
For high-speed water sports.
No, that's the Ocean Band.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I thought you said.
No, that's the like bubbly one with the...
Yeah,
that one was fine. I'm not that into that one. But maybe for scuba diving, which they mentioned a lot of stuff about this watch in scuba diving. I have literally zero experience when it comes to that. So hopefully somebody out there can be like, I scuba dive. That seemed cool.
This is how I think they designed this watch. They went to a bunch of athletes in a bunch of extreme sports and said, do you use the Apple Watch? And the ones that said... I wanted to, but I can't. It can't actually keep up with me. They talked to those people and added all the features they cared about. So somewhere there were some divers who were like, yeah, the Apple Watch, it is water resistant, but I dive down to 70, 80, 90 feet, and the watch isn't rated for that. So then they made the watch rated for WR100 water resistance. Now it'll go down to 100 feet. Now there's a dive app that'll measure how fast you're going down, and it'll measure the water temperature and how fast you need to come up to still be okay. All this stuff. They talked to those divers. Then they talked to people who run marathons. I think Adam did this. Adam, if you're editing this, maybe you can add a little text above my head or something, but I think that the watch dies before the end of a marathon.
I actually had a really fun conversation with his channel is called Hella Good. He's the runner who ran across the United States, and at the end with Casey, he's here at the event. I think he's super excited for this ultra. He's wild. He does some really cool marathons or like 100-mile races, stuff like that. He said his Apple Watch usually dies.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's excited for this because he loves what we have always said. He loves the motivation and the streaks that you get from it, but he generally wears, he said, 4 watches when he's testing stuff.
Yeah.
Highly suggest going to his channel. I think whatever we do on the Apple Watch Ultra, his channel is going to have the really intense stuff that we'll probably never figure out. But he was a super nice guy, and I cannot wait to see what he thinks about this watch because he's tested a lot in scenarios that I could never dream of accomplishing.
So they definitely talked to people like him.
Yeah.
And those people said, I can't use this watch because the battery doesn't last long enough for GPS tracking for 5 straight hours. Then they went on to add enough battery life to do an Ironman, which is like a 2-mile swim,
100-mile
bike ride, and then a marathon, GPS tracking and heart rate tracking the entire time. And they said that on stage. And I was like, oh, so you listen to those people. Perfect. That's what they did with this watch, it seems like.
I think we need to make Adam do an Ironman.
Adam is going to be doing an Ironman to be testing the battery life of the Apple Watch Ultra.
He'll have fun hearing this when he gets all the files to edit later tonight.
He's going to do it. Dual frequency GPS for higher accuracy and better accuracy in more challenging environments. Again, it was a specific call out to like, if you run the Chicago Marathon, which is in a city with a bunch of skyscrapers blocking your view of the sky, you had trouble with GPS tracking for your run. This will solve that. I assume they're correct about that. I haven't run that marathon myself, but Adam's going to run that too to test that.
We love Adam so
Adam's
much. He's the best.
So this watch will be $799.
Yes.
When we were watching the keynote, we were trying to guess what the price would be. I said $899.
All the rumors were around $1,000, and I just said my prediction for this is hopefully not $1,000. So $800 I think is reasonable. There are a lot of Garmin's out there, some of the big running watches that are right around there, $699, $799. So I think it's in a fair spot. I think people who are, I've kind of been calling it like the GoPro of smartwatches because it has all these incredible, really cool, super intense things that all of us think we do but don't actually do. Kind of like when you buy a GoPro and then never actually use it. So I think it'll still like work for everyday life and just increase battery life. But I think there are going to be some people out there who are like, yeah, I've got night vision mode and like all this crazy stuff, and I'm just like walking around my local park.
It is interesting. Okay, so a bunch of people at the event asked me, "Oh, Marquez, you're getting the Watch Ultra, right?" And I'm not sure. Like, I'm really not sure. So here's why. I like this watch, and it is small. And when I play, actually, I wear the watch on my left wrist because I don't like having a whole bunch of stuff on my throwing wrist, right? I play Ultimate. I'm throwing with my right hand. The titanium watch is lighter than you'd think.
It was surprisingly light.
So I was worried, like, oh, man, this is going to be heavy. Like, I do want all the extra features, but I don't want a huge, heavy watch on my wrist all the time. But it's lighter than you think, so I think I'd be okay with the weight. But it is still bigger and thicker, and I'm already, like, on the edge of, like, how much computer on my wrist can I tolerate? And I don't know if in everyday life that isn't extreme sports, I would want to have this huge computer on my wrist thing. Like, I can still dress up. I wore it to the Met Gala, remember? Like, I can still dress up an Apple Watch, not to flex, but, like, it's fine. You can wear it in, like, normal places and people don't look at it twice. Would you wear a Garmin to a nice dinner? I don't really think people want to do that, so I don't know.
To each their own, I guess.
I really don't want two watches.
It is chunky. One. It's a big watch. I don't know. I can imagine. I don't know if I would play Ultimate with it. That's a lot of watch, like hanging around, like swinging at people.
Yeah, I would golf in it easy.
Yeah,
because I'd wear it on the left wrist and I'd have the GPS tracking going the whole time, and it would be great.
I would kill to take it hiking.
There's a bunch of things that'd be great
really
for.
Fun.
But it's like a GoPro. How often are you going to do that? You're going to have it sitting around thinking like, oh, I'm going to go hiking every day, and then all winter you're like, I have this huge watch.
Maybe it's the extra set of motivation you need to get out and do that and stop playing Valorant every day instead. So
yeah, still no group fitness competition.
What do you? Still no group fitness competition. What do you think of overall design, real quick, before we get off of this?
Of the Ultra?
Yeah, because basically what it is it's a bigger. It's 49 millimeter Apple Watch, but it has, like you said, bigger digital crown. It has a big chunk coming out of the side of it, like a protrusion, and then it has an extra button on the side, which is orange, which I actually
didn't even mention that. Okay, yes, I do like the design. I'll just say, like, on the left, there is an extra button. It's called the action button. It is orange. All of the watches of the Ultras are the same. They all have cellular. They all are silver titanium looking, and they all have an orange action button. And I kind of like that about it. Like, it seems to signal just the way it looks is sort of ruggedized look, but you can customize what the action button does. So if you just hit the action button from your watch home screen, you can start a workout with it with no countdown, just instantly start a workout. Or you can have it fire up your flashlight, or you can have it fire up a different app. There's a bunch of different things that I showed in the settings of the hands-on video. I like that about it. So I think design-wise, I think they took an Apple Watch further towards durability instead of taking a Garmin and pulling it towards Apple Watch.
I think that's the right.
Make sense?
I think it's the right move also.
Yeah.
They did have stuff like you can do waypoint tracking with that action button. You can do markers if you're doing running. And I also do believe it had similar of the like satellite GPS stuff. So if you do get lost, you can use it to contact emergency services, which is awesome. Another thing we will not be testing. I don't think so.
Only Adam needs to test this.
We'll just throw Adam in the woods, I guess.
Because they talked to people hiking mountains and they were like, you ever needed to like track your waypoints in case you're in complete whiteout conditions and need to find base camp and you can't see?
There is benefit of waypoint tracking. I have used it on other watches before, not because I've gotten lost, but sometimes when there's a lot of trailheads, and if trailheads are really sharp with a lot of brush and stuff like that, you can very easily just like walk straight past it, wonder why you're not hitting the trailhead that you mean to hit, and then I've looked back, seen that I've gone past the waypoint, and then realized I should double back instead of keep walking miles away from where I need to be.
So you hit the action button to mark your waypoint, and then you'll be able to come back to it whenever. But yeah, I guess what we've learned from this is Adam's going to do an Ironman. He's going to hike a mountain. He's going to do a desert run in extreme heat just because it can go up to 130 degrees Fahrenheit. We got to, of course, make sure that's true about it. And all the other features will, of course, be pushing to the limits with our incredible podcast.
I think Adam needs a raise, maybe.
I think it's a good watch. It's not for everyone. It's the Ultra, and that's why it's called the Ultra, but it is a good watch. All right, thanks for watching this clip that we have definitely not shot in front of a green screen. I just want... Here.
Prove it.
I'll prove it. Watch out.
Be careful, though. Don't mess anything up. This is very expensive. Security's here.
It's not a screen, by the way. It's a print.
It's not a print. It's the real stars. Apple's magic.
Neil deGrasse Tyson would not let you get away with saying that.
Do you think Craig Federighi's right behind it? I think he's gonna pop out at any second. You should, if you like the video, Craig will pop out of that.
Like the video for Craig to pop out.
Did you try it? You haven't tried it yet.
Hit the button.